Kick off your shoes and relax your feet. welcome, all y'all. Hello. Welcome to the RBN Roundtable. Today is Thursday, January 20th, 2022. And it's so good to see all of you in the chat here today. I have my lovely and gorgeous comrades, Sabrina and Rome. Rome right now is actually in the airport. Are you on the plane, Rome?
Yep.
This man is so damn dedicated.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's kind of choppy, but we can still hear you.
Rome's on the plane.
Rome is on the plane. It's so good to see all of you. I just want to say hello to everybody that's in the chat. It's good to see everyone. Thank you, Nick. Good to see you. Micah, nice to have you as well. CBC, good to see you. Panquake, yup. Let's get it out there. Terry, good to see you as well. Arif. I don't know what that's about, but okay. All right. Yona, nice to have you. Saul, sup? Good to see you. Chicago. Yeah. We're gonna talk about that in a second. Andrew, good to see you. Juice. We're gonna talk about that in a second. Eric, Thomas, good to see you. Hey, Bill. Sula, Ware Pilgrim, good to see you. Our homie Quaker. YT, good to see you. Amber. Okay, so one of the things that I want to get into first, a couple of house cleaning things that I wanted to touch on. First of all, I want to give a happy birthday shout out to Afeni. Today is her birthday. Afeni, we love you. We appreciate everything that you do, and we just want to wish you a very deeply happy birthday. So happy birthday to you, Afeni.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, and like I posted in earlier, unfortunately, Nick his grandmother passed earlier today, and he's in somber straits right now, and so he's taking some time off, and our hearts are with Nick. I took the liberty of putting because when people pass, a lot of times it ends up being a financial burden. So I put Nick's different ways of you can contribute to him in the Chiron that's scrolling down below. So it's his PayPal, Venmo, as well as his Patreon. So if you guys can give a little support to Nick, I'm not exactly sure of the financial situation with his family, but I'm sure some donations can help with whatever they possibly need at this point in time, because it's very rough. We live in a capitalist society. And even when our family members pass, they still try to get us, even when our family members pass. So I appreciate that. And just our hearts go out to Nick, definitely. If anybody wants to say anything about that as well.
Yeah, I mean it's a really tough time, and that's why I tell people you never know what people may be going through. So just something to keep in mind. But yeah, I definitely, like, my heart goes out to Nick, because it's just it's been a lot. I think I've been hearing like every month someone has passed away. So
early on in this network, CJ also lost a cousin.
Yep.
And so it was pretty bad. So we have to be there for our siblings in this fight and our comrades. So if you guys, if you guys are not able to, give out a donation, then at least give Nick just give him, some kind words, if you see, get to message him or see him around on Twitter. So just make sure to do that as well.
Yeah.
So, Rome, you still there? You all right? Oh, I think it's kind of hard to get a reception on a plane, but I kind of figured that Rome would probably be in and out. But yeah, so Sabby, you were talking about something a little bit earlier that I haven't got a chance to truly react to, but I want to get my fresh reaction right now. So I'm hoping that we can get into that. So this is kind of your first story.
Which one? The
announcement. I guess it was that.
the announcement.
Oh, I'm sorry. The one with Brianna Joy Gray. We can get to that afterwards because I want to guess. I want to put some good news sandwich in between. We can get to the one with Brianna Joy Gray. That one was a very interesting story to talk about.
Yeah, so this came through on Twitter today. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So Brianna Joy Gray interviewed Jordan Sheraton, and I haven't seen the entire interview. I just saw the clip that was on Twitter so far. And this is really interesting. So they start to talk about TYT. Just give you a little preface here.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some things that Jordan Sheraton says that I guess I should say I should not be surprised, but I guess I'm surprised. Like it's out in the open now. So here we go. I'm gonna play that video.
There was a time, again, long before a lot of these feuds, that TYT was that umbrella organization. It was huge. It was sprawling. Everyone was a part of it. And I'm curious, from your perspective, why doesn't it seem to be serving the same purpose that it apparently used to serve?
Yeah. I don't want to go viral, but I'll just be honest. Listen, I appreciate the opportunity that Cenk gave me, but I will say it was kind of always a conflict there in terms of you want to call it a network, but you don't really want to elevate anybody but yourself. So, TYT at this point probably could have been $1 billion business if they would have just given Jimmy Dore a daily show, right? Cenk didn't want to do that. Frankly, I had to pull teeth to get my on-the-ground reporting featured on the main show at TYT. I'm not saying this to attack them. It's just, this is what happened. So TYT, there was this idea of making a network, but at the end of the day, if the force behind it, which at the time was Cenk, is basically just wants to hear his own voice and be on camera a lot, you're not going to elevate, because you're not going to create a network and it's not going to thrive with like only one face. You need to elevate a lot of different faces. The other thing also is, TYT, they were obviously the first originally in the game of this. They didn't have a lot of competition for many years on independent leftist media, but they started with me doing on the ground reporting, which people loved, but then they kind of stopped doing that. So to me, their failure, or Cenk's failure, to really elevate new faces, new voices, to really push them so that it wouldn't just be like, Cenk and, a band of other people. It's unfortunate because I think TYT, obviously they kind of shifted a little bit politically too, but to
what do you attribute that? Because I've heard, people make their accusations and I try to stay out of those, so-and-so has bad motives fights. But as someone who used to work there, do you have any thoughts about what caused there to be a political shift?
Yeah, I think that I know a lot of people want to ascribe it to, the $20 million they got, this and that. I think that's the easy storyline. I don't want to say that had nothing to do with it, because obviously when you get $20 million from a major Democratic Party donor, that's not going to have zero effect, even if they don't technically have editorial control. I'll give an example here. And I've never said this publicly, so you're getting it.
Scoop.
I was on the ground in 2016 covering Tim Canova's race for Debbie Wasserman Schultz. At the time, other than Hillary Clinton, Debbie Wasserman Schultz was like the most hated, neoliberal resistance, figure, whatever. So I interviewed Canova, and he gave me like a pretty big scoop. I mean, he basically said, yeah, I can't get Bernie Sanders to return my phone calls. Politico picked it up. All like the Washington media picked it up. I believe CNN did too. I called Cenk. I said, hey, we're getting this clip to you. Like, do you want me to come on the show? This and that. basically told me like, yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to get it on the show. And I said, what do you mean you're not going to get it on the show? Like, why am I even here? Like literally the biggest down ballot race at the time, Tim Canova versus Debbie Wasserman Schultz, he basically just said, I can't get Bernie to return my calls a week before the election. That's like news in any world.
Yeah.
And he kind of gave me this birds and the bees speech. Like, well, there's the progressive. No, he said this. There's the progressive audience and then there's the general audience. So, and the general audience doesn't know who Tim Canova is.
Well, that's your job.
So
that's part of your job as a journalist.
So I said to him, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have the analytics. I'm telling you, your audience is progressive. They don't know who Tim Canova is. Maybe because, well, first of all, they do. But to your general audience, they might not know who he is because you haven't covered it. Right. They do know who Debbie Wasserman Schultz is. That I can tell you. And generally, it's a smart thing if you're investing a lot of money to send a reporter around the country to highlight when they break news.
Yes, you're an asset. Besides which, to your point, the general audience, the politicos and the Hills and the whatnot, were covering it.
Right.
Which demonstrates interest.
So to me, that was the bigger issue rather than the money. There seemed to be a disconnect. And again, I do appreciate the opportunity Cenk and them gave me, but there seemed to be a real disconnect with the grassroots.
So I think like we've had our suspicions about TYT, like we have our own beliefs, but hearing that from someone who used to work with them, it means so much more. And, you know, I know people have their opinions, you know, about Jordan Sheraton or whatever, but the on the ground reporting is incredibly important. And it's going out there talking to the people, the people that a lot of like commentators don't talk to. It's going out there talking to the protesters, like talking to like people who are on strike. Like, so Status Quo does that, right? So to hear that basically Cenk didn't want to put certain things on the network, I guess because Canova wasn't popular enough or whatever, that really, it's really telling, because I think he said that was 2016. So some people said they started changing like 2018, 2019, but going back to 2016, even then there were certain things that they were doing where I guess if the candidate wasn't popular enough, they didn't really want to hear about it. When the whole idea of the show was supposed to be reporting on leftist news, right? And leftist like politics. So why would you exclude someone, I guess, just because they're not popular enough?
Wasn't it Dr. King who said the time is always right to do what is right? You know, and I talked about this. I was on the Vanguard earlier today. It kind of sounds like when Cenk said that you have your progressive audience and your general audience, it's almost like we have our private positions, we have our public positions. And I'm just like, wait a minute. This guy is supposedly a progressive that is running. If he's not popular enough and you're a network, make him popular.
Right.
That's what you're there for, to basically let everybody know who he is and why they should go, why you should support him instead of Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And yet you choose not to cover it.
Right.
And I think Jordan was being a little kind there when he said that it had, you know, that the money had some influence. I think it had a lot of influence. And they'll say, well, Jeffrey Katzenberg didn't have a lot of editorial control. It's like, yeah, but people who have money can imply things.
Right.
And you don't want to rock the apple cart with somebody that's funding you. You know? I don't know. It feels like, that individualistic type of mindset that he has or had was so pervasive that it ruined TYT in many ways. as far as being having credibility with the left.
Right. And then also too, I want to remind everyone, we didn't know who AOC was in the beginning either. She was introduced to us by left independent media. TYT talked about her a lot. Jimmy Dore talked about her a lot. Like, so if you don't know who someone is, like, that is the whole point, like independent media, to cover people that are not going to be covered by mainstream media. So if you even think back to Justice Democrats having mentioned AOC, who did TYT focus on the most? AOC. There were other Justice Democrat candidates. There were other people running grassroots campaigns. There's a whole list of them. They may not have necessarily been with Justice Democrats, but there were a whole list. I had a list one time, I have to look for it, of grassroots candidates that were running that same time. And some of them weren't even mentioned. Like I said, it seemed like their focus was primarily on AOC and getting AOC elected. And I feel like had there been more focus on the other ones, they would have gotten in too. So it's just something to note. I mean, Cori Bush didn't make it the first time. She made it the second time. But had it not been for that documentary, Knocking Down the House, I wouldn't have known about Amy. I wouldn't have known about Cori Bush. I would have learned about later. But like I said, at that time, most of the attention was put on AOC. Yeah. And it just seemed like to me, they had already decided this is going to be the person that we're going to promote. This is going to be the one that is most likely to win. And it's really unfortunate. You find out all these things after the fact, like that she had worked for Ted Kennedy. And I don't know if they knew that or not, but they probably did know that. And I think that's important information for people to know.
Yeah. They also kind of didn't give much attention to Paula Jean. Like they gave some attention to Paula Jean, but it wasn't, as significant as they did to AOC. But I saw something interesting in the chat. Harold said, "I quit TYT when he voted shame all of us who didn't vote." Were you? Oh, I think you said you meant you quit TYT as far as being a viewer, or did you actually work for TYT? Because I think I quit watching TYT, but that caught me by surprise for a second. I'm like, wait, what? Now that I read it again, I'm just like, oh, you're probably a viewer. But yeah, that can also be a trigger, to people like leaving, because the thing is that you didn't want to vote for a neoliberal and you were being shamed for not voting for a neoliberal, but as far as the whole part about not covering it, did you see Brianna's face? The way she looked, it was just like, what? So
yeah, it's unfortunate. And like Eric said, has TYT ever promoted an independent candidate? Not to my knowledge. And in fact, I have to go back and check this, but even when Princess Blanding was like running, and by the way, she went viral on Twitter. That's how I found out about her, because they wouldn't let her debate and she had met all the requirements. So she was running for governor of Virginia. And it was really disappointing to see a lot of these large platforms not even mention her name. And this is why I tell people, like, they're still stuck in the duopoly, even though they're complaining about the duopoly. They still, at the end of the day, want you to vote for one of those parties. So we need to have those people on like those bigger platforms. I've brought them on my show, but imagine if TYT and who else? Majority Report, the ones like with really big millions of subscribers. Imagine if they would have brought on Princess Blanding. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just getting that message out there and reaching more and more people, but they don't do that on purpose. Like I said, like they don't really want to prop up. They don't really want a true independent candidate. They want someone who's going to go in through the Democratic Party.
Thanks for the response, Harold. Yeah. So you said, yes, quit being a member and watching too. Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah. A lot of people were turned off by that. And the thing is that they sheep herd towards the Democratic Party. And it's like, if you are the home of progressives, that should be progressives no matter what party they are. Because, I mean, look, Green Party has some pretty progressive policies. I'll be honest with you.
We got to remember
Yeah.
what that word progressive actually mean and what they, what I'm saying, who they use it for and on. When they say progressive, all they doing is talking about, a cleaned up Democrat. But overall, they still pass the same bills. Like, look at the progressives that's in right now, uh, voting for iron, voting to increase the police budget. Progressive is just, it's just a name. So they could say they're the home of the progressives because look at the progressive voted people to us that told us to fight for those people, vote for those people, march for those people. And then people, same progressive that they told to put in and told us to fight for is giving money to CIA agents. They're doing everything but progressing. So all this shit is just words mean nothing to these people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just want to answer Mad Scientist Mike real quick. I supported third parties, but wasn't she a libertarian of sorts? I don't promote right wingers, even third party. No, she was a part of the Liberation Party, which is that's a different thing. And her policies were more progressive than some of these progressive candidates that are running. So it's just like, if it's really about the issues and it's not so much about the party, then you should promote those people on the issues, regardless if they're a part of the Democratic Party or they're a part of a third party. And I think that's the problem that I have with that. If it's really about the issues, if it's really about Medicare for all, if it's really about canceling student loan debt, if it's really about bringing broadband into these rural communities that need it, then you should have those people on as well.
Yeah. And there was, there's so many different people that they could have brought in. And there's a lot of people who were running for Congress that were running in, say, the Green Party that they could have promoted. There was one gentleman that I knew of out of Texas that was running Green. They could have, promoted him, but they decided not to. And it was because they were so invested in the Democratic Party that it's almost like they had blinders on. They couldn't see anybody else that would actually be more beneficial than that person. And so ultimately it's really just, it's sad because if you are into electoral politics, then you're not being given the full scope of all the available candidates that would jive with you. Instead, they just want to pick and choose and cherry pick based on the Democratic Party who they think you should have. And it's like, no. What about, this person from the Green Party, this person from who's an independent? What about these people? So if you're saying you're home of progressives, then be home of progressives. If you're saying you're home of the quote unquote left wing of the Democratic Party, then you better just say that. They be honest. That's all we ask,
Yeah, Anthony said old guard versus new guard. Yeah.
Libertarians ain't nothing but.
Yeah. Jackson Hinkle. I'm glad you mentioned that, Anthony. Jackson Hinkle is debating Sam Cedar next week. And the title that he promoted on Twitter was Old Guard versus New Guard. And he was saying, I didn't get the chance to finish the stream, but he was saying that he really believes that this is going to be the year where the new guard kind of takes over. Because he was saying that he feels like a lot of these older like shows that keep telling people to still do it through the Democratic Party, he feels like that's starting to phase out and people want something different and they want something new. And I hear where he's coming from. It's just, how many times are we going to continue to do the same thing and hope for a different result? Right.
Sabby, I find it funny that that these are people who call themselves progressive, but they don't progress.
Oh, that's a good point.
Because they stay in the same stagnant position since 2016. We're past that. Y'all need to get up. Y'all need to look. Y'all called on broke down, and y'all think that the Democratic Party as a tow truck is going to come and pick y'all asses up and take y'all to where y'all need to go. No, it's not going to happen. Look, we're way down the road. And some of us are driving slower so you can catch up. But guess what? It's time for us to put down that clutch and press on the accelerator. Because guess what? If we continue to go slow at a snail's pace, we're gonna end up the same spot. So really, truthfully, to be honest, they need to pick it up. They need to realize that. Watch what the Democratic Party is doing and be real with yourself about what they're doing. Because we have to be real with ourselves. I'm gonna be real with you on this one. I have respect for Bernie for what he did originally, but I moved past him, and I see the flaws for who he is, for what he had. Was he kind of better? Yeah, but at the same time, Bernie, in my eyes, is still establishment because he's been there. So, and I know some people are going to be hurt by me saying that, and I do apologize. But the thing is that when you look at Bernie, also, signing on to legislation that involved the military-industrial complex. Bernie also signing on to the war in Afghanistan. Bernie also not endorsing reparations for Black Americans and people who have been oppressed in this nation. You kind of have to take a step back and take a look and be like, yeah, Bernie still has some things to work on. At least. I'm being kind there. There's some people who will be a lot more hostile to Bernie based on, what he has done. And also, look at what he did when it comes to fighting back against Joe Biden. Did he even really fight back against Joe Biden?
No, he said earlier on last year, he said Joe Biden was doing a good job.
Yeah.
So
that being said, it's just like, no. And I'm going to harp on this point because we said this, was it last week? I can't remember. Sam Seder hosted an MSNBC primetime show for a week. And that was 3 years ago.
Doesn't his bio still say contributor? Let me check.
I don't know.
I thought it used to say MSNBC contributor. I'm going to check and see if it still says the same thing. Oh, damn. Apparently, I do not follow Sam Seder. Let me see. Oh, that's bad. Yes, it still does. Look, I'm going to share my screen. I'll show you. Okay. It still says MSNBC contributor. So how are you going to talk about mainstream media narratives that you're a part of? Do you guys see it?
You're literally a part of it, dude.
MSNBC contributor. Oh, I would take that down.
Oh. Because the thing is that how can you if you call yourself a progressive and somebody who respects somebody like Noam Chomsky and have read his book Manufacturing Consent and not realize that you're one of the people that is literally manufacturing consent? Now, you can say, well, I talk about progressive policies and things like that. But at the same time, when you were on MSNBC, you were pushing the Russiagate narrative, which has been debunked already by journalists like Aaron Mate. And so, and then you also continuously keep sheep herding people into the Democratic Party because you think they're better in some way without actually realizing that the Democratic Party actually works for the Republican Party.
I think it has been more revealing with Joe Biden because this is the first time in my lifetime I've seen people who I know who were like Democrat Party loyalists who are saying like, oh my God, Joe Biden's really not better than Trump. This is the first time I've heard people say, hey, the Democratic Party is doing the same thing that the Republican Party was doing in reference to the money and the funding, given the military industrial complex, $768 billion. And I think the reason why people are more aware of it this time around is because we are in the middle of a pandemic. A lot of people have lost their jobs. And so I think people are starting to pay more attention in ways that they didn't before. So there's more of a sense of urgency. And it's really interesting to me how some people can still make excuses for Joe Biden, but most people I have heard from, they're seeing the writing on the wall and they're realizing like, listen, like this isn't working. Something really has to change. You notice the number of independents in this country has increased the past 2 years. So that's not a coincidence. And I think people are just getting tired of the two-party system.
I'll be, I want you to think about this, and I'm not going to take credit for this analogy because it literally actually came from the Bible, but it's an analogy that's apropos for this. When it comes to the pandemic and what we've been seeing, this is like being put into a furnace. Now, what you're made of determines how you will come out of the furnace. If you are made of wood and you are put into the furnace, then you will burn up. If you are made of clay, you will become hard but brittle. If you're made of like a gold or an iron, then it may temper you and it may harden you so that you're stronger. And the thing is that some people have burned up, some people have become brittle, and some people have gained resilience. Some people who are in this space that we meet, like Savvy and I are in, are becoming either brittle and break under pressure, or they're burning up. And they're not able to move with the fire that they have been introduced to. People like Sam Cedar have been introduced to the fire. And the thing is that we're actually seeing what's going on. Because the thing is that if you're looking at the first entire year of Joe Biden and you're still an MSNBC contributor and you're not going in there and saying we need to leave the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party is not doing us any good, then what are you doing? That's my question. Because the thing is that, and Rome said this to me in private a few days ago. He gave a great analogy as well. He said some people are like potatoes and some people are like eggs. If you put a potato in boiling water, it softens up. If you put an egg in boiling water, it hardens. Which one are you? So that's what we need to recognize. And we need to see the stuff that we're made of and take stock. And if we are made of stuff that is not as stern as it should be, then we need to readjust and become somebody that's made of sterner stuff so that we can be more resilient in this time. And that also means sometimes leaving a party that really is almost like being in an abusive relationship.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned 2016. I'd even go back to 2015. And it's now 2022, and we've just been hearing the same talking points for years, and nothing has changed. And yeah, we were able to get progressives like in office, but what have they done? So at this point, like if the strategy that you had is not working, it is time to try something different. It's time to move to a different strategy. Because I'll be damned if I sit back and do this shit again. I'm sorry, but I think about all the people I know who canvassed for AOC, canvassed for Bernie Sanders, did phone calls, blood, sweat, and tears, basically people who gave their last $10 to these candidates because they really believed in them. And then for them to get in there and just turn their back on the people who fought to get them in, it's disgusting. It really like breaks my soul. And I don't understand how they can be okay with that. I really don't. They need to turn around and face the people who put them in that spot. And that includes left independent media, because you don't see them go on those channels anymore. The same ones who promoted them and got them to the spot where they are right now. Had it not been for left independent media, we wouldn't even known who AOC was. Let's be real. Like, let's be real. The only time they'll show up is if they go on TYT, and I wonder why that is. Because the rest of us are going to hold them, well, most of us, some of us, maybe a few of us, are going to hold them accountable. And they don't want to hear it. And I'm pretty sure they have like staff members and advisors telling them, well, don't do that. Only go on CNN and MSNBC. What are you going on there for? They're not on your side. They weren't on your side when you were running. They're not on your side now.
Yeah. And Sabby, you even, talked about how you even had to make sacrifices when you were donating to certain politicians because you thought that they, were actually fighting for you.
Bernie Sanders owes me a lot of money. That's it. Like, that's all I'm telling you. That's all I got. The number of times, and like every time there was a debate in the primaries, I was like, donate to Bernie, donate to Bernie. Every time I got a text message, donate to Bernie, donate to Bernie. He owes me a lot of money. And it's a shame. Like, I really wasn't in a space where I should have been doing that at that point in time. And yet I did it because I'm like, no, we really need these things to happen. We need to get this man in so we can get Medicare for all, so we can get rid of, student loan debt. And to see him get in there and not even like be hard on Biden like he should have been, to see him go on Crystal and Kyle's show and say that Joe Biden's doing a good job, it's just no. So now Bernie Sanders is coming back and he's saying, you better do these things or Democrats are going to lose in 2022, 2024. It's too late. Yeah. It's too late.
Yeah. I want to give CryoSynth42 a thank you for the super chat. Can we promote third parties by having Black Caucus of the Green Party on? I think many would be interested in their analysis of Green Party current state. That's a great suggestion. Thank you so much. I've never heard of Black Caucus of the Green Party. I'm pretty sure they have a Black Caucus, but I've never gotten to talk to them before. But that would be cool.
Yona said, yo, burn where my money, fool. Oh, Yona. Oh, man.
Okay.
Steve,
I'm following them right now, just to let you know. So, yeah. So we can see what, and maybe hopefully they'll follow back, and then, I can reach out to them. But thank you so much, CryoSynth, for that. I appreciate it. You'll burn my money full. You'll burn.
Oh man. Oh
now,
man.
Okay. I don't know if I should confess this. I don't want to get canceled though. But fuck it. All right. I'm not gonna play it because we'll get copyright strike.
Oh boy, I wonder what this is.
Oh yeah. Just watch. Okay. Because I don't know, it just reminded me of the song. Yeah, I'm just gonna. Okay, I'm gonna have it paused, by the way, and I'm just gonna show you guys the title, but I'm gonna preface it by saying that this is this is what I think that people should put on loudspeakers in front of the White House, because, well, Joe Biden owes us money. I think we should play this song in front of the White House because we need our money back. It's a Rihanna song, all right? So, because he owes us that $2,000 per month for the entire pandemic. That's all I'm saying. I ain't playing nothing though, because copyright strike. But yeah, but there's a part in the song where she says, "Pay me what you owe me." Actually, I actually say that about reparations too. Pay you what you owe us, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah. But yeah. But yeah, I'm at a point right now where the people who want to run in the Democratic Party at this point in time, who think that they can change things, it's almost kind of like a bless your heart kind of moment. You know, it's kind of like you. It's kind of like, are you sure? Are you sure? Because I don't know. I've been watching. You know.
Oh, bless your heart.
Bless your heart.
Oh, bless your heart.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Bless your heart, honey. But yeah, so yeah, I just and one of the things that I actually think is a good idea, is, you know, putting in, you know, some third party people, especially who are running on the local level, like the Shama Sawants of the world, and giving them more of a platform so that they can grow. I don't mind that. I'm cool with that. You know, what do you think?
I agree. And I think like we need more people like Shama Sawant. Shama Sawant doesn't even accept her whole salary. I don't know if everyone knows that, but the salary
Mm-hmm.
that she receives as city councilor, she doesn't accept the entire salary. So she has an organization called Socialist Alternative. If you
Mm-hmm.
guys are not familiar with that organization, you should definitely check them out.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike DSA, I will say Socialist Alternative actually does stuff. Like, I mean, like they really get on the ground. They do a lot of activism. I've had them on my show twice. They're awesome. And all I have to say is like we need more people like that. Like we need some people who are activists, who are willing to forego money, certain types of money, like Shaman Sawant is doing. That's how you know they really legit. You know what I mean? That's how you really know they're really dedicated. And we need people who are brave enough not to run through the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And I know that's easier said than done, but at this point, why would you go into that dungeon? Why?
Yeah. I just want to give a shout out to oh my gosh, I can't believe I just had him on. Case Study QB. He's doing what's called the People's Gauntlet. And he has a space in there for third party people.
Yeah.
So if you're running a third party or you're wanting to run third party, that's going to, especially if you're a Green Party person, that's going to be easy for you to do. And so I just recommend, if you're running third party, you know, especially on, you know, he's not doing it for local yet, but I hope he graduates to that, because that, I think we need to set a base for that. Because I'm almost completely done with electoral politics entirely, except for third party. But if you are interested, I'm just giving you the information. Contact, you know, Case Study QB and get on that People's Gauntlet, you know, because that'll be easy. And if that People's Gauntlet actually grows, then that may be a way for you to get in. So I don't know. It's just an option. We're just putting it out there.
I agree. Case Study does like awesome work. I think that Case Study should be on everyone's show. Like seriously.
He's
like,
brilliant. He's brilliant.
Yeah, he comes up with all these ideas and everybody uses his clips. I'm just gonna be real.
Yeah, even oh my God, Crystal Ball on her show. What's it called with her and Sagar?
Oh damn, JB, Breaking Points.
Breaking Points. I think they use his clips too. So I mean, yeah, a lot of people use his clips, you know, and so I don't know, you know, he what did I say?
You forgot the name of their show.
I don't watch that shit. I don't.
God. Oh my God.
Look. What was the poll that a huge majority of them, you know, are for war with China?
That doesn't surprise me.
It says a lot. If your audience is actually for war with China, like
they got Sagar.
That's said. Savvy.
That was the type of people you bringing in. I mean,
I'm just.
Paul Eisenberg. Why, Paul? Oh man, that is brutal.
I didn't even mean it to say it like that. It's just
we live too, so we can't cut that out.
oh damn.
Oh man.
Well, whatever. It is what it is. But yeah. Oh, Devotion Orange gave a super chat. What do you think about Gary Chambers' apparent confidence in getting to the U.S. Senate and just getting things done like it's nothing? Love him, but okay. Number one, I applaud his bravery in smoking a fat blunt on, in a political ad while running for the Democratic Party. But let's be real. He's not the first to do it. Anthony Clark did it before him. I don't know if Anthony Clark was the first, but Anthony Clark actually did it first. Anthony Clark, friend to the show. So everybody's praising him for smoking weed in a political ad like it's the first time. No, he's the second person to do it. So let's get that out of the way. As far as confidence in getting to the Senate, Sabby, what do you think?
No. I mean, I'm sorry, but just no, it's not gonna let me pull up his thing. Hold on.
Did you see the ad?
I saw the ad.
You sound so sad.
It's like
you sound like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh right now.
it's like, bro, really, man. Let me. I'll share it just in case people haven't seen it. I mean,
yeah. Let me take off this. Take this off so that everybody can see it fully.
Get ready. It's time for the
Balls.
savings event of the year.
Are you serious right now?
I'll let the ad finish. Why is there an ad?
Wait, was this Twitter?
No, this is CNN. Those punks. Why is this ad this long?
Because capitalism.
Jeez, man.
And the ads keep building up and building up and building up.
Likely to be arrested for marijuana laws, then
So
I mean, more power to him, but
look. All right. I hope. Look, I'm always hoping for the best. So if he gets in, then fine. But I just hope he doesn't end up being a neoliberal who smokes.
there you go.
Because neoliberals agree with it.
Mm-hmm. And conservatives.
There's a lot of conservatives too.
Mm-hmm.
So I just hope that he doesn't get changed by the Democratic Party. Because, like I said on Populist Voice a couple nights ago, I said the Democratic Party will eat up a progressive and spit out a moderate.
Basically,
They do.
someone was asking if we'd ever have on a libertarian. Where'd it go? Oh, here we go. Would you guys ever have on any libertarians? I know that Graham Elwood had a guy on who's running for office in New York State. Your thoughts? I've always said this before. Like, I'll talk to anybody. I may not necessarily agree with them, but I'll speak to anybody. JB?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk to anybody, but I'm not going to debate, because debates are really just for show. I mean, I'll have a discussion, you know, because with debates, people usually come in already staunchly on that person's side without question. And so no matter what, they'll still remain on that person's side even afterwards. It's almost like a team sport. So I don't debate, but if the person wanted to have a discussion, and talk about, maybe things that we have some overlap, I'm cool with that. But yeah. But it depends on the host of RBN, whether they want to or not. But I know for myself, and Sabby spoke for herself, I'll talk to anybody.
Yeah. There's a super chat from Rome.
Anybody within reason. I'm not going to be talking to some white supremacist that wants to spread their propaganda, though. That.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
So just wanted to put that out there. Super chat from Steve. 13,000 subscribers. Thank you, Jay and Sabby. Thank you so much, Steve. It means a lot to us. Appreciate it very much. Definitely. Thanks, and you like how I sang your name?
Steve.
John, I'm so stupid. Okay, so I think it's fair to go to the next story, right?
But there's one from Rome.
Oh, wait. What's next is revolution. Voting is just pushing us back, like it's time to actually fight and make history. Well said.
Whoop, whoop. Do you want me to show that video now, or?
Oh, sure.
You want me to do that now, or you want me to wait till the end?
I'll leave it up to you.
Oh. Well, I can show it now since it goes off of Rome's statement.
Okay, cool.
Let me find the video.
I'm down.
So in reference to what Rome was saying, and what a lot of us on here have been saying, we need to take it to the streets. The time has come. Voting, we can't vote our way through this anymore, right? So I showed this on my show last night. I'm going to show it again here. Everybody needs to know about this. Please promote this to as many people as possible, because there is an event that's organized for June 18th. This is a huge event. It's put on by the Poor People's Campaign. Mass Poor People's Assembly and Moral March on Washington. This is June 18th. Mass Poor People and Low Wage Workers Assembly. Listen to this. June 18th, Mass Poor People and Low Wage Workers Assembly and Moral March on Washington and to the polls will be a generationally transformative and disruptive gathering of poor and low wealth people, state leaders, faith communities, moral allies, unions, and partnering organizations. It is not just a day of action. It is a declaration of an ongoing committed moral movement to 1, build power, 2, shift the political narrative, 3, make real policies to fully address poverty and low wealth from the bottom up. The assembly is pulling point of organizing from fall 21 to summer 22 and will spring us toward the 2022 elections. This is not a one-day event. Along the way, we will be doing more: mobilizing, organizing, registering, educating, engaging, and empowering people for a movement that votes If you don't have a car, they got you. Find a bus coming to Washington, D.C. from your state. This is June 18th. What I heard from CJ is that they've already have like over 100 organizations signed up for this. So this is going to be a big deal. And I'm going to go ahead and play the video.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Now I have to mute my mic because I get crazy echo.
We welcome you to the launch of the Mass Poor People's Low Wage Assembly and Moral March on Washington, D.C., June 18, 2022.
We are a new unsettling force, and we are powerful. New unsettling force, and we are here.
We're rising up to demonstrate the compelling power that we, poor and low-income people, have to reconstruct society from the bottom up.
And we need to do it with the loudest voices possible, the biggest actions possible.
Because we know that there is no scarcity in this land. The only scarcity is the moral will to do what's right.
Oh, Lord, just a little while longer.
We are those with sub-minimum wage jobs who can't afford sky-high rent.
People with disabilities are the fastest growing minority group.
It's crazy to me that in 2021, it's still legal for workplaces to pay a sub-minimum wage to people with disabilities.
There are still so much trial and tribulations that we go through as Indigenous people. We can't get a decent wage to sustain ourselves, nor can we get adequate housing.
Veterans across this nation say enough is enough. We can't pat essential workers on the back on one day and then cut their health care the next day.
Health is a political choice.
What more do I need to do to prove that my voice is just as valuable as anyone else's?
There are still forces in denial that would try to slow walk our transition to a clean economy and a just future for us all.
We have an immoral system run by immoral people.
But together we walk and we fight.
It's time for a change. Reconstruyamos esta gran nación.
See, we are people of resilience as we fight these interlocking injustices together.
When we work together, mobilize together, and rise together, we become a voice for the voiceless, and we become an agent of change in a time where great change is needed.
We need the third reconstruction to ensure that deaf people, people with disabilities, and all people can have the right to live and to thrive.
We know what they are doing, but the question is, what are we going to do? Reconstruction begins when we change our mentality and say it's time for you to get your foot off of my neck.
Justice is coming soon. Hey, do you believe that of today?
JB?
I am all for this. I just hope that it is not a movement to soften capitalism, but to take capitalism away. I want it to be a nail in the coffin against capitalism. Because the thing is, that's one of the reasons why we're in this situation in the first place.
Yep.
So if that's what the aim is to put a nail in the coffin of capitalism, great, perfect. I would, I don't think I can go because I have dialysis, but I'd be game for anybody else who goes. But even still, people need help.
Yep.
People just need help regardless. you know. And so, and really, the Poor People's Campaign was started by a socialist.
Yep.
I
This
just
is not a new, for people who don't know, this isn't a new organization. This has been around since, I think, 1963. Check.
Yeah. It was started by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Hmm.
And I hope that it still continues with its socialist roots,
Hmm.
because I don't want to see a deviation from that. Because any deviation from that would mean that we're just trying to make capitalism more palatable.
68, sorry.
68. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way I kind of see it is that I think, we need to do something.
Yeah.
And it also appears like obviously one of the things they're fighting for is, the wage issue, obviously, the wealth, the disparities, right? The economic issues that people are going through, especially since like the pandemic. So what I would encourage people to do is not look at this so much as, oh, is this person that's a part of this a Democrat? Then I don't want to participate. Because in order for us to have some type of movement in this country, I hate to tell you guys this, but the left is small. And what's left of the left is even smaller than it was 2 years ago. I'm just going to be honest with you. And so we can't just have a movement just with the left. That's not enough people to really pressure DC to actually make some type of change. I watched this yesterday. I watched Joe Biden was asked a question about student loan debt. Is he going to cancel student loan debt? He walked off the stage. We need to get this man out. We need to implement some type of real change. And the only way that's going to happen is if we hit the pavement. And it may take a couple times. It may take more than one protest. Because I can tell you right now, if we didn't have a civil rights movement, me and JB would probably be sitting in the back of the bus today. So,
it makes
something,
me think of that.
Something has to change.
Yeah, something does. Sabs, when you said take it to the streets, maybe think of that song by Sunshine Anderson. I've heard it all before. She said, gather all my peeps and take it to the streets. Nothing you can do and nothing you can say. I forgot exactly the words, but it's basically like we've heard it all before. And the thing is that when are people going to stop listening to liars? You have to stop listening to liars. Because unfortunately, when you listen to liars long enough, their lie is no longer a lie. And then it starts to sound like the truth to you. You got to stop listening to them. And so I hope that this is a movement that would endorse a general strike or wildcat strikes, something like that. I don't want to hear people go, oh, well, that's a little too drastic. No. You see, drastic is when you're getting evicted. Drastic is when you're being paid a starvation wage. Drastic was when you're dying because you have lack of healthcare. And by the way, Nick actually talked about this on his Twitter today, was that his grandmother was foregoing seeing a doctor because of the cost of healthcare.
Yep. It's very common.
That's drastic.
It's very common.
So if that's the case, then if we can just fold our hands and say, we're not doing a damn thing until you give us what we need. If something like this movement that the Poor People's Campaign is endorsing, would start a mutual aid program so that people can fold their hands and not lift a finger until things get done, then yeah, I think that that's something I can jive with. But I do not want something that's going to save capitalism.
Well, there is no saving capitalism in this country at this point. Like, I'm just going to be honest with people. I
Yeah.
talked to Professor Wolf about this.
Yeah.
There is no. Like, people have to understand, like, don't get me wrong. Like, will things get, economically get a little bit better? Like, once everything kind of dies down, like with the pandemic and everything. Yeah. But the United States, we are on our way down when it comes to being number one, when it comes to the economy. China is doing the damn thing. Like, I'm just keeping it real with you. We need them more than they need us. And that's never a good spot to be in. But economically in this country, we are not. Listen, the minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour. We're in 2022. We still don't have health care for everybody in this country. We don't even, meanwhile, college tuition continues to increase astronomically.
Yeah.
So you have the kids can't go to the schools unless they take out student loans. That's increasing, by the way. The number of people who have to take out student loans has increased. So there is no, I just want to be clear. Like, I think some people think it's going to go back to the way that it was maybe like, let's say before 2008, before the whole housing crisis thing. I think we're past that now. Like, really, like, I don't see us going back unless something changes. Like, unless they have to increase people's wages, they have to give people a living wage. They would have to increase the minimum wage. Maybe just scratch the minimum wage and just give people a living wage. Maybe give people an adjustment for cost of living, depending on what state they live in. This is the problem with minimum wage. If you live in a state like New York, $7.25 an hour is nothing. If you live in New York City, $15 an hour is nothing. So I think they need to look at, like, the cost of living, where people live. Like, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So until that gets fixed, no, I don't see. Guys, I came from higher education. So JB knows this. I quit my job about 2 weeks ago. Had to peace out.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, I had to. I was like, hell to the no. But I worked in higher ed for over 10 years. And I'm telling you, these kids are graduating with these degrees, and they are not, most of them that I have seen are not getting jobs in the field that they went to school for. But they're taking whatever they can get because they have to pay their bills. They have to pay their rent for their apartment. Some of them are moving back in with their parents because they can't find anything. Some of them are moving back in with their parents because they're not making enough money at their new job to be able to take care of themselves on their own. And this did not start with the pandemic, by the way. This goes all the way back to the 2008 housing crisis. Because there are some of us who graduated in that year into that storm. And so I want people to understand these jobs, this is not sustainable. The economy has changed. The job industry has changed. Some of the majors that they continue to offer at these universities don't even have, they're not employable. They're not employable. Why do you think some of these small liberal arts colleges are closing? I think we've lost like 3 or 4 here. So it has gotten to the point. This is why they keep pushing STEM. They keep pushing, like, everybody go into STEM, teach the kids math and science. But there are even some areas of that AI can do. Mm-hmm. So this is why I tell people, like, things are going to change. It is going. This is one thing Andrew Yang was right about, I feel. You really need to be concerned about AI. I used to work at MIT, you guys. Mm-hmm. You have no idea what is coming. Some of the things I saw, some of the things they're working on, the research, you have no idea. That's why I'm telling you. A lot of these jobs that we have today are not even going to exist for people to do years from now. It'll be all AI. So when we talk about the economy and capitalism, it's going to get to the point where you're going to have to learn how to do another type of trade or skill just so you can be employed. Or They'll push you into the military industrial complex. Come work for the military. You get great health care, free education. It's sad, but it's the reality.
Yeah. And I want to make sure I'm clear. I hope that what Dr. Richard Wolff said was absolutely correct. It's just a lot of times what they do in order to save capitalism. So it's like a pressure cooker. And whenever they increase the minimum wage or give us certain social programs, it's like releasing the valve and letting some of that steam out. So they're like, okay, we got to let out a little steam because the pressure's a little too high. We don't want it to collapse. So let out a little steam. And then the pressure builds again. And because, we're unhoused. Okay, so we need to do some housing programs. Okay, just do a few housing programs. And then we're talking about, oh, well, people need to eat. People are they unable to feed themselves. All right, let's give people some SNAP benefits. And the thing is that they keep doing this to let off the pressure, to keep capitalism around. I want to take the pressure cooker and throw it in the fucking trash. And I'm hoping that that's coming. I'm just in fear of having another New Deal where it's a system that saves it, and it resuscitates it just so it can last another 70, 80 years. That's just my concern. I hope Dr. Wolff is right. I don't know.
Even for people doing like these coding boot camps, I'll go ahead and tell you with that too. Like a lot of people are starting to go into that because there's a lot of jobs like in coding, like software and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they are already developing AI that can code and it can do it faster and it doesn't cost them anything. It doesn't cost them what they pay you. These software engineers make a lot, especially up here in Boston. They make a lot of money.
Wow.
So I'm just going to tell you, what are they going to do? Have an employee that's going to code for them, keep them around when it takes them hours to get the job done. Sometimes they're pulling all-nighters. Those of you who have done this field, you probably know what I'm talking about. Pulling all-nighters, working all these hours. Or are they going to go with the AI that costs less and can get the job done faster? They've already implemented stuff like this in the United States, like when they sent like jobs overseas. They did that because it was cheaper labor and the job can be done faster. So I think that this is why I tell people like we need to learn how to grow our own food. This is why I tell people we have to like build community and support each other, because you have people like Jeff Bezos, you have maybe him too, but you have Mark Cuban just bought a town. Mark Zuckerberg is buying up land in Hawaii. Bill Gates is buying up all this farmland. When shit hits the fan, they're going to be fine. They'll have their food resources, everything that they need. It will be the rest of us, the 99% will be the ones that are stuck and are struggling even more. So we have to work with each other. And at that point, it's not going to matter if someone is on the left or the right. I'm telling you right now, at that point, when shit really hits the fan, when waters start to rise to the point where people have to move because they can't live there anymore, it is not going to matter who is left or who is right. All that is going to matter is who has money at the top and the rest of us that have nothing at the bottom. And that's why I tell you, even today now, we need to be fighting against those people at the top that hold all the concentrated wealth. Those are the ones we need to keep our eye out on.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'm going to tell you right now, Black people, listen up. Y'all need to stop blaming the immigrants from coming in and taking up some of the social programs, because guess what? It is not them that's doing all that. Really, it's the rich at the top that are making it more difficult for us.
And stop buying their products. Stop it. Nike, Cadillac does not care about us. They will virtue signal as much as they can to make it seem like they care about Black people, they care about Black Lives Matter. No, that is just a marketing scheme. They use it when it's convenient. They use it when it's popular, and we continue to give them our money. Stop buying their shit.
Mm-hmm. If you got if you're Black and you got some family that live out in the country, they country bumpkins, they got a farm and all that. I want you to go out to that country if you can and learn from your country bumpkin cousin how to farm. Because guess what? That country bumpkin cousin is going to save your life.
Yep.
Learn from them.
It's true. I'm serious. The ones that people make fun of and say that they're not smart or whatever.
No, them people in them rural areas, they got some brains on them and they know how to survive. Guess what? Y'all better learn. Because guess what? Look, I'm a city boy. Let's be real. I wish I had some folks out in the country. I need to find some people who live out in the, well, there are some people who I'm connected to on Twitter who live out in the country, and they would literally let me help them out on their land if I could. But yeah, I mean, if you can find, look, we got Twitter. Y'all literally watching us on YouTube. Just look it up. That's what we got to do. We got to start looking this stuff up.
Yeah, how many of us know how to build a fire? How many of us know how to like shelter ourselves if we're stuck outside? Like how to build some type of like shelter or structure. Now, if some people listen, if you were in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, you probably know how to do this. But
I need to have people like that on my show.
Yeah, it's just like I'm telling you, like they teach a lot of things in school, a lot about theory and academics, but they don't teach any life skills. This is why people are clueless.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody said that they would adopt me.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. People are so loving. You got some loving people in here. Y'all beautiful as hell. Justin Johnson said, JB, I'll adopt you. I'll be your country bumpkin cousin. Man, don't make me come out there. I'll bring some gifts too. Thank you so much. See, this is why I love the people who watch our program, man. All y'all.
Bob said he has hundreds of acres. 100 acres in Vermont.
Oh, wow. That is pretty cool. Yeah, man, we gotta learn from our brothers and sisters in rural areas, man. Because you know, we have to do that. I like what Christopher said: less politics and more practical skills. Yeah. Yeah, I think I should have some people from rural territories on my channel. I think I'm going to do more of that too. Spread the word, you know? So I wanted to get to, did we have another story? We had another story. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Huh?
You said Joe Biden.
Oh, yeah. Oh. we're gonna let you guys, you know, get your wits about you before we get into that one, because every single time we talk about Joe Biden, I seem to break out in hives. Hey, Metal King says, on the U.S. reforming capitalism, rarely do fading empires show the initiative to do so before it's too late. Let me ask you this, Savvy. Do you think that the powers that be, do you think that they don't realize that it's too late already?
They know, but they don't tend to care because they know that they're going to be fine. I'm watching this documentary called The Con. It's about the 2008 housing crisis. I highly recommend you guys watch that. It's the guy who is, narrating the documentary lost his house as well, like during that time. And he goes around the country and interviews people that were involved, people who were, affected, that lost their homes, people that used to work for some of these mortgage companies, but they weren't really mortgage companies, and how things worked and what happened. And I got through episode 2. The episodes are pretty long, so I got through episode 2. And one of the things that I noticed was, of course, the main culprits were not charged. And they had like the highest suicide rate at that time, like in this country, because the people that lost their homes. And I mean, you guys know this story pretty much. Obama, Eric Holder basically said there was no crime. They let the bankers off. The American people had to suffer, yada, yada. We know that part. But if you're watching the documentary, they actually show you step by step how they were able to do it and how they were able to get away with it. And they show you that they were purposely hiring people that had like fast food jobs, had no experience working in real estate or any type of loan office. They were purposely hiring young people with those skills to forge applications. So people would sign off on a loan and they would get back to the office and they would white out the numbers and increase the numbers. They were forging people's signatures. Like, this is a crime. This is like a serious crime. And those people were not charged. So what you have to understand is that the people at the tippity top, the banks, they were a part of it too. Wells Fargo, Wachovia, JP Morgan, Citibank, they were a part of it. And so they were basically, the CEOs of those banks were basically giving theirself these bonuses from the money that was being gained by foreclosing all of these people's homes. Those people aren't in jail either. So what I have to say is that there's a lot of greed. And when you have greed and you have that much wealth concentrated at the top, they know that it may be too late. They know that one day this is probably coming around. They're going to make sure that they are protected and their family is protected. How much money can you have? Like, really? They are the ones who don't want to share the wealth. They're the ones who don't want to pay more taxes. They're the ones that have offshore accounts. Those are the people that we really need to pay attention to. Oh, you're muted.
Now you got me thinking. Are the billionaires the real doomsday preppers?
No, you got to go to the people who are above them.
That's what I mean. The people who are above them, like the owners of the banks and people like that, are they the real doomsday preppers? Are they the ones that are accumulating and hoarding all this money so that they can survive the doomsday when the pitchforks and the torches come after them? Is that what they're doing? Because I'm going to tell you right now, that amount of money and that amount of money pretty much is not going to save them when it comes right down to it. Because who are the people that protect them? Working class people. Who are the people that feed them? Working class people. Who are the people that watch their kids, fly their planes, drive their cars? So it's you're doomed to failure. It's going to happen.
I'll show you the picture. I'll show you the chart. Because see, one of the guys that did it was donated to Bush's campaign, to W's campaign. That guy also was not charged. He's dead now, but he was not charged. But I'll show you the feudalism then and now chart. Let me share my screen. Trying to do two things at once here. I don't know what's happening. Okay, I know what's happening now. This is the image that I shared on my channel. Sorry, this is through Canva. Sorry, guys. I know some of you are like, this is bootleg as hell. But this is the image that I shared through my channel. This is a chart called Feudalism Then and Now. And it talks about medieval feudalism and corporate feudalism. So back then, you had the monarchs were at the top, land gentry, clergy, royal ministers, merchants, vassals, and everyone else at the bottom. Now that included peasants, laborers, conscripts, right? Etc.
Mm-hmm.
Today, you have corporate feudalism. Look at the top. The central bankers, Federal Reserve, Bank of Japan. Then you have the big bankers, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Lloyd's. Then you have the corporate elite. These are the Fortune 500 peeps, multinationals. Elected officials isn't nowhere near the top. These are the presidents, the representatives, the MPs. The corporate elite, the big bankers, and the central bankers have more power than the United States president. And this is the point I really want to drive home for people to understand. After the president, you have top bureaucrats that are commissioners, secretaries, judges, top professionals, doctors, entertainers, clergy. Everyone else at the bottom, workers, students, soldiers. Most of us are at the bottom. Most of us are this everyone else category at the bottom. So basically, long story short, you look at back then and you look at now, nothing has changed.
Wow. So the heads of, like, for instance, the IMF, the European Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, these are really the people who are basically the ultimate enemy.
Yep.
They are, and excuse me for my geekiness, but they are the Thanoses of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are so focused on Loki that they're just like, oh, we gotta fight Loki, and it's like, yeah, no, Thanos.
Yep.
He's right there with that purple dude with the nutsack of a chin. So let's be real. We have to go after the big bad. And how that happens, Rome said it before. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, Savvy. That was actually good. And no, I was referring to me. I'm geeky for talking about Thanos. Sorry, by the way. So.
Oh, I want to show this. Thank Beth Wishart. Ron Paul has been yelling about the Fed for decades. You know who else used to talk about the Federal Reserve Bank, and they stopped talking about, well, actually used to talk about the big banks, the big bankers that I showed you. Bernie Sanders used to talk about that for his 2016 campaign. When he ran for 2020, he stopped at the corporate elites. He stopped at the Jeff Bezos, the Bill Gates, Walmart, the Waltons. Why did he do that? Just something to think about.
Yeah. So the next story. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna have to share this. But JB, don't do it. I'm sorry. This hurts me more than it hurts you. I sound like one of them parents. Joe Biden is telling us who he exactly is. I'm going to mute myself really quick before I share. Just take a look.
Why are you trying so hard in your first year to pull the country so far to the left?
Well, I'm not. I don't know what you consider to be too far to the left. If in fact we're talking about making sure that we had the money for COVID, making sure we had the money to put together the bipartisan infrastructure, making sure we were able to provide for those things that in fact would significantly reduce the burden on working class people, but they have to continue to work hard. I don't know how that is pointed to the left. If you may recall,
Okay, so number one, I want to go back to that journalist that asked that question. Let's break this down here. This is nefarious as hell.
Why are you trying so hard in your first year to pull the country so far to the left?
That question is deeply inaccurate. Savvy, why is that deeply inaccurate?
Because Joe Biden hasn't done anything to try to pull the country to the left. If anything, he's moved the country further to the right.
So that's not even coming from a factually accurate place. That was brainwashing as you saw it right in front of your face. And I don't care if it says Fox News, because guess what? Somebody from CNN, MSNBC, CBS, NBC, Washington Post, New York Times, they all would have asked the same question.
Yep.
Why are you pulling? He sounds like what's his name? Andy Richter from 60 Minutes. Joe Biden, why are you pulling the country so far to the left? I don't like that. That's what he sounds like. And it's just like, dude, have you been looking at the news that you've apparently been covering? Like, so far to the left? Yo, I want you guys to look at this as a case study, not our friend case study, but as a case study into this is how manufacturing consent is done. They basically made a premise by making you think that the country is moving so far to the left, even though when it's been going the opposite direction. If you're continuing to watch mainstream media, stop. For your health, stop. Because guess what? Look at what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you think that the sky is red. No. They're trying to make you think that the sky is polka dot when the sky is actually blue.
Mm-hmm.
Got anything else to add?
I think it's good to pay attention to the way that they frame their questions. So JB's right. You got to pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm. And Danny said, Jim Gaffigan, hot pockets. Sorry. I'm going to stop. So we're going to continue. So just.
We're talking about making sure that we had the money for COVID, making sure we had the money to put together the bipartisan infrastructure, making sure we were able to provide for those things that, in fact, would significantly reduce the burden on working class people, but they have to continue to work hard. I don't know how that is pointed to the left. If you may recall, you guys have been trying to convince me that I am Bernie Sanders. I'm not. I like him, but I'm not Bernie Sanders. I'm not a socialist. I'm a mainstream Democrat, and I have been. And mainstream Democrats have overrun. If you notice, the 48 of the 50 Democrats supported me in the Senate on virtually everything I've asked.
Why are you trying so hard?
Democrats supported me in the Senate on virtually of the 50 Democrats. Democrats. So
Freudian slip much, Joey? Like, what? Democrats. He was glitching. Democrats. Remix.
JB, you remember like late 90s and early 2000s, every song had a remix? It's the remix.
Especially it was with Puff Daddy, his name at the time.
Puff Daddy remix everything.
Turn it up a little bit more. I don't think they can hear me.
Take that. I thought I told you that we won't stop. Told you that we won't stop. Take that. Oh man,
y'all know what time it is. Y'all know what time. Look. He's like, I'm not Bernie Sanders. You're damn right. We know that. No shit, Sherlock. That's one thing I love about white people. They actually gave that phrase, no shit, Sherlock. And I'm just like, I love that phrase. It's so good. No shit, Sherlock. Y'all to mean to tell me, yeah, we know you're not Bernie Sanders. At least he acknowledged the actual difficulties that we were facing in this country. You know, at least. You're just like, oh, I'm gonna leave the COVID response up to the states. Oh,
basically.
What's the difference between him and Trump? I'm sorry, remind me again.
Also, what he said was not a bragging point. I'm a mainstream Democrat. I got 48 out of 50. That's not a bragging point.
Yeah. He is so scared of being one of us that even the implementation of saying, anybody implying that he's anywhere near the left, he's like, oh, I'm not near the left. No, not me. No, sir. Absolutely not. And it's like, dude, calm down, bro. We know that you don't care about housing for poor people. We know that you don't care about raising the minimum wage. We know you care about just bombing brown people in other countries. We get it. You're a genocidal maniac. Okay. You know, Sabby, please take over. My brain hurts.
It's just, I don't think he really understands. I don't think mainstream media really understands this as well, but
no, they don't.
Especially for like the younger generation, the Gen Z group are moving towards socialism. In fact, socialism is increasing and becoming more popular in the United States with the younger generations. So when you come on TV and say, I'm not Bernie Sanders, I'm not a socialist, I'm a mainstream Democrat, yo, that's really not a bragging point, bud. Like, this is not, I think that like Joe Biden and Barack Obama still think it's 08. It is not 08 anymore. Things have changed. People have changed. A lot of people are having to deal with poverty more so now than back then. And so the things that you thought could win people over, those talking points back then, it doesn't work now. And I'll say this again. The only reason why Joe Biden won is because he was running against Trump. And people had this, Trump phobia, was just like, oh my God, we can't have him back again. Oh no. So I guess I have to go ahead and sacrifice myself and vote for Joe Biden. I didn't know anybody who was a Biden fan. I never saw a Biden sign. I never saw a Biden sticker. So you have to ask yourself, under different circumstances, would this have happened? Now they're trying to push Hillary Clinton on us again. Her. That prudish woman.
That's violence. That's violence.
I'm like, these people are unlikable. Do you not understand? We do not like them.
We don't. We really don't.
After I watched this woman cry on TV and talk about, I could have told my mom that her little girl became president. I'm like, woman, give this woman an Academy Award.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to show y'all something. This is how we know that Joe Biden's not on the left. And he proved it because he, if somebody who was on the left, he probably would have did this. The United States military budget for 2022 is projected to be $768 billion. What does $768 billion a year look like? Universal free childcare in pre-K is $150 billion a year. 12 weeks of national paid family and medical leave, $55 billion. Homes for all guarantee, $150 billion. Add dental, hearing, and vision to Medicare, $36 billion. Tuition-free public universities, $80 billion. Publicly owned broadband, $15 billion. 100% renewable in the United States by 2050, $270 billion. By the way, that doesn't even equal $768 billion. How do I know? I did the math before I showed this. It comes to 756. So guess what? We have $12 billion left over after that. It actually is cheaper to do all this other stuff than it is to fund the military.
Bingo.
And yet Joe Biden doesn't want to do it.
Yep. I'm going to go ahead and tell you too, man. If they don't cancel student loan debt, like I said, I'd be surprised if they did. But that is going to be a big one for people. And not just people on the left. I'm just telling you from talking to people. They don't cancel student loan debt. They are done.
Yeah. But that's what they wanted though, right, Sabby?
They just want to fundraise. That's it.
Yeah. And look, people are going to hate me for this, but whatever it is, what it is, the Democratic Party is just a fundraising, grifting business. Because, look, who was their biggest person that they fundraised off last time was Donald Trump. He brought in billions. A Democratic Black Friday is an election. That's their Black Friday. Because then that means that they get all these people to influx and put in all this money so that, a lot of their operatives, a lot of the consultants and all these people get to rake in all their money. So every 4 years, boom, that's their Black Friday. And it's all just a business in order to rake in money. Mm-hmm. And so then once in a while, they're like, okay, we'll put a president in here. And then they choose that person, and that person becomes it. But let somebody come in who legitimately is actually running, who actually wants to implement some populist policies. Oh, no, we can't do that. Why? Because the Democratic Party is a private business.
Yep.
It is not a government entity like everybody seems to somehow think it is. No, it's not. They even argued it in court that they can actually choose somebody from a smoke-filled back room.
Yep.
They did with RNC.
Yep. I got to tell you, they still asking for money. I still get text messages from Bernie Sanders' campaign asking me for money. I'm like, are you serious?
Man,
Trump donated to money. I know, right? But they're all, a part of the same group. Trump donated to Kamala Harris's campaign when she was still in California.
And Steve Mnuchin.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to tell you. One big party. They all about money.
Yeah. And so why? Oh, God. Remember when he said, I beat the socialist?
Mm-hmm. Bernie Sanders isn't even a socialist. Bernie Sanders is a democratic socialist, which is not the same thing as being a socialist.
No. A democratic socialist is somebody that still thinks that you can have reins around capitalism.
Right. Right. Which I don't believe that you can.
No, I don't either. No. There's no reigning in capitalism. It's either you get rid. Capitalism is a cancer. And so if you leave remnants of it after a cancer treatment, then guess what? It'll still grow and then metastasize again. That's what capitalism is. It is a cancer on human society. And it needs to be gotten rid of completely. We tried to do it through surgery to try to cut it out. But now we may have to do chemo. We may have to do radiation.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do some drastic measures in order to get this thing out. Because the problem is that you keep one itty bitty bit of it. Guess what? It's going to metastasize and grow again. Next thing you know, we're back in the same place. Because guess what? We did do that, and we left remnants of it still in here. And guess what? We did that when the New Deal was done. And then everybody was happy because they got that New Deal. And they were like, okay, we're good. We're all right now. And they fell asleep. And then capitalism started to grow again.
Yep.
And now look at us. And it's even worse. And it's getting to the point where it's going to be even worse than it was during the Great Depression. We actually had a chance to get rid of it during the Great Depression, and we didn't. We just shrunk the tumor. That's all we did. It's time to get rid of the tumor.
JB always has the best analogies. I'm telling you. It's true.
But I'm just saying. Like, we tired of this shit, y'all. Look. And I put this in a tweet, and it actually got quite a few likes. I admit. You deserve so much more than what you're getting. You watching. You deserve way more. The people who own the banks, the people who own companies like Walmart and Amazon and Microsoft, the people who own the central banks, they don't give a shit about you, and they are okay with you dying. That's the problem. They feel like their life is worth more than yours, when in reality, your life is equal to theirs. You deserve a house. You deserve healthcare. You deserve good food, clean water, and a healthy planet. You deserve not being targeted because of the color of your skin, and you deserve to not be bombed because you got some resources that some corporations want. You deserve that. And anybody who's saying that they're putting a monetary barrier between that, oh shit, I'm sounding like Rome. Fuck them. Because guess what? You deserve it because it is your right as a human being. And nobody should take that away from you. Just like you deserve your free speech, you deserve your housing. Just like you deserve food to be put in your belly so that you can continue living, you deserve your right to bear arms. You deserve all these different things. And the thing is that your people are allowing this shit to be taken away from them. And we're done. And the easiest thing to do really is just to fold your hands.
And it's easy to blame it on other things. There's a movie called, it was a book first, but there was a movie called The Color Purple.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna share my screen here. This is as big as I could get the image, you guys. I'm sorry. I don't know why it's like that.
Know what I'm doing.
There's a movie called The Color Purple, right? A lot of times people watch this movie and they think that the theme of this, well, this is part of it. The theme of it is that, it destroys the myth of like the strong, like Black woman. That is true. That you shouldn't be ashamed you shouldn't be afraid to be vulnerable, right? Mm-hmm. That's part of it. But when I watch The Color Purple, I think about capitalism. And the reason why I think about that is because even in The Color Purple, this is back during the time, like racially, we were very segregated, like in the country. So this is going like way back. I forget the exact year. It might be going all the way back to like 1930s or something like that. Mm-hmm. But one thing I noticed is that in The Color Purple, even though they were racially segregated, the wealthy Black people still looked down on the poor Black people. So someone like Whoopi Goldberg's character, Celie, she was poor. And her husband's father was wealthy and he was bougie. And so the Black people who had the wealth still looked down on other Black people that were not at the same economic level as them. So if you were poor and Black, you were getting beaten up by poor white people, wealthy white people, and wealthy Black people, all because of capitalism. And Alice Walker would be a good person to get to come on, because it'd be great to like pick her brain about this. But when I watch The Color Purple, that's what I see. And it was all about capitalism. It was all about land, who had the most money, and not just about that. There were racial issues as well. But the wealth inequality is shown vastly throughout the movie. Celie couldn't leave an abusive relationship because she had no money. She had no way out. He controlled everything. He had the money. So it goes to show you that at the end of the day, this is how people treat you when you're poor. Now, this is going back to like 1930s, but this still happens today.
Yeah. I'm going to show people something because you brought up a movie reference that talks about capitalism. I'm going to bring up a media that talks about capitalism too. And I'm surprised that a lot of people haven't caught up to this. Here we go. Those of you who are millennials know what this game is. This is a video game. It's called Final Fantasy VII. And a lot of people don't really get the premise of the game. You start off in a city called Midgar, right? The city of Midgar is actually run by the Shinra Electric Power Company. Now, what is the Shinra Electric Power Company? They basically use these 8 different reactors to suck out the energy that is, that provides the life for the planet called Mako. And that Mako is used to power the city of Midgar. That is actually literally sucking out the life of the planet. So number one, you already have an ecological disaster going on right now due to capitalism, okay? Then you go, this city is literally like a plate, like a pie. And so you have the upper plate where all the people, the city managers, the bourgeoisie that they live on top of. Underneath is called the Shinra slums. And the people literally have to live out of basically garbage from the top in order to survive in the slums at the bottom. And so you actually are a group of what they call eco-terrorists called Avalanche to blow up the reactors. But then you find out because of what they did, they actually end up birthing one of the greatest antagonists ever in video game history named Sephiroth because of their wanting to experiment on people like they did black people. And they created Sephiroth. So when it comes to this game, number one, it's one of the greatest games in history, and I'm gonna die on that hill. But if you play this game from a leftist standpoint, this shows how evil capitalism really is. And if you're a capitalist and you play this game, have you really played the game? Like, really?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, if you're on the left, I actually recommend for you to play Final Fantasy VII and see what it is.
Yeah, they
did a remake, like 2 years ago, which is amazing.
Yes.
So that's how popular it is, and it's funny because when we talk about things like The Color Purple, or we talk about oh my God, the movie Parasite, or Squid Game, or Final Fantasy VII, a lot of these properties always critique capitalism, and they become super popular. And we question why. Why do we do this? I bet you, you know what? If we didn't suffer from, it being suppressed so much, Das Kapital would probably be a New York Times bestseller. Because we actually see capitalism and how it's working. Alex, I've never seen Soylent Green, but I know that also has to be a decent critique of capitalism because I kind of know the apex of the story because I watched a countdown, so I do know that. But so it's kind of been spoiled for me. But yeah, I know. Thank you. But I should watch that movie. But yeah, anytime there's a media, and you like, for instance, who turned me on to Squid Game? Doobie doobie doo.
Me. Yo, I started watching Squid Game. I started watching Squid Game. I was like, okay, this seems okay. I get to the end of the first episode, and I was like, what the hell did I just see? What just happened?
Yeah. And you see that people literally identify with what's going on. And they identify with people who are downtrodden. And it's so many of us that any piece of medium that critiques capitalism whatsoever, like for instance, Star Wars, like everybody roots for the rebellion.
Yep.
Every single time there's something that's a critique of capitalism, it ends up becoming popular because people realize the true evil that it is, but they just don't think that it's capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I should have talked about this on my show.
No, it's so true. I mean, they've been doing this like since we were kids, even like, 'cause if you even go back to like some of the like children's books, some of the fairy tales, some of the Disney movies.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch those Cinderella, like, so people are always rooting for the underdog, right? The person who really needs to get ahead, right?
Yeah.
And so it's been all around us. We just have to stop and take a deep look.
Yeah. I was about to say, the Emperor's New Groove. What did Yzma say? She said, it is no concern of mine to, what is it that you need? He's like, food. She goes, you should have thought about that before you became peasants. Like, what? Look at one of the I think it was episode 2 or 3. Episode 2 or 3 of Loki on Disney Plus. And they're all trying to save themselves by going onto the Ark on Lamentus 1 so that they can get off the planet. Well, all the people who are getting on the train are rich. And you have people literally saying, hey, they're only letting them on the train because they have money because they're rich. What about us?
Yep.
And so it drives with people. And this is the thing. And if people think about, oh, well, I can't really talk about people about socialism, then talk about policy. Don't even use the word socialism. Talk about the policy, because when you talk about the real world policy, everybody's like, yeah, I deserve healthcare. Yeah, I deserve housing. Yeah, I deserve, a planet that is healthy and I should live on.
Yep.
It's a human issue.
I phrase it differently depending on, like, if I'm talking to someone who is like socialism bad, like I wouldn't say, do you think we need Medicare for all? Because they'll be like, no, that's a socialist policy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would frame it as, do you think everyone should have healthcare in the United States? And when I frame it that way, most people say yes. Oh, it's 7:31.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we got to get going because plus we're at 2 hours already. But yeah, this is a great conversation. I think, Sabby, I would love to continue this with you another time, and we can talk about like different media, whether it be books, movies, TV shows, video games that actually critique capitalism and how it does that. I think that would be kind of a cool little show to do. So
that's a good idea, JB.
Yeah. So what do you have coming up in the down the pike?
Lots of things.
Ooh!
Oh my gosh. Lots of things. Tomorrow, me and Eric will be back here. Oh, okay. Tomorrow, me and Eric will be back here to do part 2 of the solutions panel. It'll be just me and Eric this time. So we're going to do part 2 of that. And then I'll be on my channel again tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, I'm going to talk about, we're going to have a discussion about the wealth in this country. And there's a couple of stories I want to point to educate people about what it's like to be poor in this country, right? So I'm going to talk about that. Sunday night, Ethnic Women's Liberation Panel is back. We're going to be talking about intersectionality and our experiences with that, as well as Kimberly Crenshaw's definition of intersectionality. And then on Wednesday, the funky academic himself will be on my show, Sabby Sabs. We are going to have a discussion about class and race and whether or not we can solve the class issue and the race issue at the same time. That should be a pretty good discussion. So definitely tune in for that.
Thank you so much, Sabby. I think that's going to be really awesome. You're going to have a very lively weekend. So as for me, I will be having on Kit Cabello from Heartlands Media. We're actually going to be talking a little bit more on my channel, JB Font channel, about Lori Lightfoot and how she's been bullshitting people in Chicago. So we're going to be talking about that on my show. Everything that's happening on the JB show on Sunday on RBN is to be announced. And next Tuesday, I'm trying to get a specific guest for next Tuesday. But if anything, I'll just cover the news of the week next Tuesday on my channel. So I hope you guys are able to come in on there. I just want to wish Rome a safe plane ride back to Detroit. And I, again, want to wish Afeni a very happy birthday. If you can, go to her Twitter handle and, give her some birthday money because, a sister trying to survive just like me, her brother. And so, do that for them. And also, Socialist MMA, our hearts are continuing to be with you. You guys can donate in the crawl down here to his PayPal, his Venmo, and his Patreon just to show him some support if you can, please. With that, I think we are finished if there's nothing else. Anybody else in the chat, thank you so much. Oh, let me check Rockfin. Everybody, thank you so much for all your, comments in the chat on Rockfin. Thank you so much for viewing us. Also, please make sure to click the like. And if you're not subscribed, what the hell are you doing? Subscribe. And please share this on social media. And yeah, we'll catch you all in the next one. Say bye, Sabby.
Bye.
We did it. Yeah.